Okay. All right, we're ready to get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us. My name is Hannah Crapeau. I'm the content marketing manager here at Certiport. We're happy to have everyone joining us for our sixth Certified Academy webinar of 2025. Please feel free, let me actually open up the chat to drop in and tell us where you're joining us from, what courses you teach, what you're hoping to learn from today's session so that we can all collaborate and learn a little bit together. The session is being recorded, so you'll receive a link to the full recording via email after the presentation. All our attendees are muted, so that does mean if you have questions that you would like to see addressed, please feel free to use the chat feature or Q&A, and we can make sure to bring those questions to our amazing panelists and experts here today. I did just want to do a quick call out for our session sponsor. This session is being sponsored by our Critical Career Skills Generative AI Foundation certification. Generative AI is profoundly transforming the way we communicate, making AI literacy not just optional, but essential. And here in just a little bit, I will drop a little bit more information, a link for you to learn more about this program so you can see if it works for you and for your students. And we're going to be talking about teaching ideas for AI hesitant educators. So hopefully this is going to be a great discussion to get all things AI kicked off in your classroom. We have two amazing panelists who are joining us today, Stefano Piano and Amy Waters. Stefano heads community and partnerships at Mindstone. In this role, he is responsible for hosting and facilitating practical demos and talks about the impact of AI on work and society in more than 20 cities between Europe and North America. Prior to joining Mindstone, he was an education and skills expert in the OECD, where he advised over 15 governments on improving education and training systems and preparing the workforce for AI adoption. He's been teaching at university and delivering lectures, including at Harvard, Kedge Business School, and ISEP. Stefano studied politics, philosophy, and economics at the University of Warwick and completed postgraduate studies in economics at Cambridge and LSE as a Rotary Scholar. And we also have Amy Waters here with us. Amy is a 37-year veteran teacher at Hahnville High School in, is it Butte,
Boutique.
Louisiana? Booty.
Boutique.
See, I knew I wasn't going to get that one. With no plans of retiring anytime soon, which is so great for us. She's a complete nerd who has taught everything from Latin to computer programming and still loves learning new things and sharing that knowledge with everyone. She's constantly trying to find new and creative ways to teach lessons that will reach all of her students and works hard to make sure that every one of them walks away with a sense of accomplishment. She's currently teaching classes in Microsoft Office, Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator, fundamentals of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, as well as advanced JavaScript programming. So I would say these are very qualified experts that we have here with us. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen so that we can see everyone a little bit better. Thank you so much for being here with us. Amy, why don't you go ahead and kick us off? Give us a little bit of your background in education and AI. Tell us what we're here to learn.
As far as my background in education, I've taught a little bit of everything. And as far as AI is concerned, I have I'm a Star Trek nerd, and I have been waiting for decades to be able to say, computer, do this for me. And so I was like first on the bandwagon when, Alexa turned my lights on. The Internet of Things was just the best thing in the world for me. So when AI, particularly ChatGPT, started, the beta, I jumped in and I was like, okay, make me a lesson plan for this and help me come up with quizzes for that. And as it has evolved, we cannot, as educators, decide we're just not going to have that in our classroom because our students are going to be miles and miles and miles ahead of us. And if we're using it to help us teach, then why are we not using it to help them learn? So I am finding the more I use it in my classroom, the more students will think for themselves. The more I allow them to use it when they need it, the more they will eschew using it to just do their work for them. And it's like that forbidden fruit. If you're not gonna let them use it, they're gonna use it. So
You got to open up the doors a little bit so that they're
yeah,
comfortable in using it the right way, right? I love
thank
that.
and teach them in the process how to use it the right way, ethically.
Hmm. Absolutely. Thank you for that introduction, Amy. Stefano, do you want to go next? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience in education.
Sure. I just have a love for learning and education, and I really wanted it to be the center of my career, but I've switched sides in the sector. I was before Mindstone, I was at the OECD, and so which is an international organization in Paris, where my job was advising governments about the future of education, and especially how technology will change the classroom and the world of work. So from cradle to grave, pretty much. I work with more than 15 countries, more than 100 education institutions, but when generative AI came of age, I decided that I really wanted to play a primary role in this generational shift in the way in which we think and learn. And so that's when I decided to move onto the other side, to the edtech sector, and join Mindstone to help them run the community, which is a series of events around the world where professionals get to see how AI can be embedded in their workflows. And on top of this, I also have some teaching experience. I've been working with software engineers in Paris at ISEP, one of the main engineering schools in Paris, to teach them business and economics, which is my main background. And I think my experience in the classroom has really shaped the way in which I think about AI, because in a sense, I'm one of those annoying teachers that walks around. And it's a way of, ensuring that everyone is paying attention and seeing what actually people are doing on their laptops, because everyone or every second person would have their laptop open. And that has completely changed the way in which I also view AI at Mindstone, because I mean, it looked like they were not paying attention, these students of mine, but they all had their laptops open with ChatGPT, DeepSeek, and all possible models. But so I realized that they were paying attention. They were just checking what I was saying against the model, almost using it as a reasoning or fact-checking tool. So that has dramatically changed my view of how to use AI and how it should be embedded in education.
Okay, I'm going to continue on this thread a little bit and ask, thinking about AI and the role it plays in today's classroom, how do you think that has evolved since I mean, I feel like it's so new still, since its introduction into the marketplace. How have you seen AI playing a role in today's classroom? Stefano, we'll start with you.
Yes, so I think it's a segue into what I was saying earlier, and so I really think, I don't know if we are yet at this point, but I'm sort of thinking that the teacher is being more and more a coach than the ultimate source of truth. So I think that was already happening with other digital technologies. Generally, that gave instant access to knowledge to the extent that the tools can be used in the classroom. And several countries and schools have taken restrictive measures in that sense. But assuming that the tools can be used in the classroom, then I see the teacher shifting inevitably from being the ultimate source of knowledge, so the one person in the room that actually has the knowledge and needs to share it, to being some closer to a coach. So helping the students actually understand how to
Mhm.
access different channels. And of course, there's a huge generalization. It will be very different in K-12 with respect to a university where I was. But I guess the more we progress on the education journey of a student, the more the teacher is being right now a coach, whereas perhaps in K-12 and earlier grades, there's been less of a change.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think being able to use it effectively as a tool as opposed to having everyone having a mastery of the technology, which with the changes happening so rapidly, that's often, not possible. Amy, did you have any thoughts? What role do you think AI is playing in your classroom today?
I have to agree with Stefano. When he said that the students are double checking, yes, it's going to play a much bigger part for higher education than it does in the K-12 classroom. Um, the I agree with you. The teacher is falling more into the facilitator or coach, as you call it, role but that's been happening for years. We as educators have been getting away from that sage on the stage model for a very long time. With it, yes, I am old. With the internet, the access to internet, and I have been teaching that long. It was a huge shift to, okay, you have to memorize all the answers, to now you have to know how to find the answers. And that same shift is occurring again, and in a larger sense, not just, okay, here's the answers, memorize these answers, but okay, what questions are we asking? And as a facilitator, that's my job, because with the younger kids, where do we start? And so my job is to guide them to where they can find the answers and to what questions they're asking, teaching them the critical thinking skills and that background knowledge. When they get older, they're more independent learners. At our stage, they are not, and we have to engage them in the subject matter. We have to engage them in the process, the problem solving process, and the learning process. And AI is a great tool for that, because one thing, it's new and it's different and it's fun, and we can do some nifty things with it in the classroom. So it's a good motivator, but my job is to get them asking the right questions. So that's kind of where I see for the lower end.
Yeah, I like that. Thinking about the evolution of AI already and where we're seeing it going moving forward, what role do you think it will play in the future classroom? Amy, we'll come to you first.
So we have to be very careful that um, we're not too dependent on AI.
Hmm.
We do have some things where, and you and I talked about this beforehand, I have some concerns about where it's going to go in the classroom. At this point, we its possibilities are endless, but we cannot allow it to do the thinking for us, and we cannot allow our kids to let it do the thinking for them. They have to learn the critical thinking skills. They have to learn what questions they need to be asking, and they need to learn to be careful about the answers that they're getting. Um, Everybody seems to think, oh, ChatGPT said it, therefore it's true. No, I've gotten plenty of wrong answer from a lot of generative AI. So that's one of the things I think we need to use it judiciously, but we also need to step back sometimes and say, okay, think through it. You need to think through it for yourself. Um, do I think it's going to hit classrooms just like the internet did? Absolutely.
Hmm.
It's already built into everything we are using. I use the code that the console that I use teaching code. It already has AI built into it. I have VS Code, and you have to tell it, I don't want Copilot to finish my code for me. I would actually like to do it my way. I have to, when I teach Photoshop, it's got AI built into it. And so at some point we have to say, okay, not quite so much. But right now it's already almost invasive in
Hmm.
the classroom. So we can't just say, no, I'm not going to use it.
I appreciate that. And I think it is so prevalent that not acknowledging it, to your point, is almost a detriment to the students because there's no way for them to not come across it. We have to be able to address it so that they know the right way to use it, right?
And in the classroom, I have started, one of the very first things I do is I address AI and where it's going to show up in their class materials, and when it's okay to use it, when it's not okay to use it. I have an AI agreement that I use in the classroom already, so that my students, they understand it is going to play a role, and I expect them to use it. I want them to be able to debug their own code, because they need to know, you know, when you make that mistake, you fix it yourself. You're not going to make that mistake again. But when you get to the point where I just can't do it anymore, yeah, you can ask AI. It's a great debugger.
Hmm. I love that. Stefano, anything that you want to add? What role do you think AI will play in future classrooms?
Okay, just wanted to reconnect to something that Amy was saying about when, how, and how much should be used. And I think a good analogy here is the calculator.
Yeah.
So we would not expect a 6-year-old to learn numbers through a calculator. I'm not aware of any educational system when that happens. The calculator would be introduced much later. And I think the same principle would apply with AI. I mean, in a sense, you can look at AI as a calculator for words, something that would reduce the cost of producing content, processing words, as opposed to processing numbers. So we would probably want people to learn how to write an essay in the old-fashioned way before they can actually ask, as we ask people, as we currently ask students to learn to do numbers the old-fashioned way before jumping to a calculator. I guess we would do the same with AI tools. And I mean, also on top of AI in the classroom, I think AI before the classroom becomes a very powerful tool. Think about preparing teaching materials.
Yeah.
Something perhaps obvious, but I mean, a lot of preparation of teaching materials is effectively taking some content, shortening it, and just or changing the format of that content, translating it into another form. And there are a lot of AI tools, and we teach some of them at Mindstone, like Gamma, that are able to do that very effectively. So that alone would, if every teacher were to adopt these sort of tools, just to help in the preparation of the materials, not to do the preparation of the materials for them, but that would already save probably class preparation time by 50%,
Yep.
which would mean that the sort of you would have more time as a teacher to actually to think about what it is that you want to cover and why, and what story you would be able to tell your kids that would actually remain with them and would allow them to remember what they learned in class.
Yes, because a huge part of our role is to engage them in the information. And so how can we best engage them? Something else that it's been extremely beneficial for is helping with remediation for students who don't get it the first time. I use it. I will set up a series of questions that the students have to type in and answer, and it will create basically a individualized tutoring session for these students. And I can monitor them while I'm doing extension projects with my other students and coming up with extension projects, because as a classroom teacher with 25, 35 students in a room, you have those you need to reteach it to and those who already got it. What do I do with the kids that don't have it? What do I do with the kids that do? So, and AI has been invaluable on both of those ends. The kids that already have it, what can I have them do? Help me with an extension project that will help them utilize these skills, and then help me come up with a remediation program for these students. And it has been already invaluable, and it's a beautiful way to help the kids in the room And you are right, Stefan. I have been using it to help me come up with lesson plans and okay, I need some practice on creating while loops. Can you give me 3 examples? And boom, it's there. I love it.
So I want to dive a little bit deeper into that. We're going to skip ahead in the discussion because I think this is a great time to address what projects that you can use with your students to teach AI skills. We've talked about how teachers can use it to make their jobs a little bit easier, but how can you teach students these skills? So what types of projects are you using to address AI with your students? Amy, will come to you, and then Stephanie will come to you afterwards.
So one of the first things in my digital graphics class, I teach my students about copyright and how everybody owns their own face. And so if they want to create content, they either have to have a model release or they have to use um, a drawing or something like that. And AI has been wonderful with that, creating images that they can use in their graphics projects. You want to do a marketing design for a new perfume, tell it what you want your perfume bottle to look like. And so that has been a really fun way for the students to dip their toes into it and to learn about crafting prompts, which is always a big issue, and about iteration with the prompts using AI. And that's one of the things that I've been doing for several semesters now with my, like I said, with my computer science students. I will have them go in, and if you need a little extra help, just ask it to quiz you on this concept and make sure you understand how it works in HTML, or how it works in JavaScript, or how it works in Python or Java, depending.
I like that. It's almost a bonus teacher, right? It gives the opportunity for additional practice. That's awesome. Stefano, did you have anything to add to that?
Yes, so I will start with an example from the classroom or from the lecture room, which is I asked the students to do a debate. But to prepare for the debate, I encourage them to use the AI models as a sparring partner. So,
Oh,
okay, have a look at how the other side might reply to your arguments. Test out your arguments with the model. See how they reply. Ask the model to play devil's advocate. And this is actually one of our core principles of the learning that we do at Mindstone, which is why I ultimately joined the company. I did this before joining Mindstone, which is we really try to change the way in which participants, trainees view AI from a technology to a teammate. So you basically have this tool that can impersonate any sort of teammate that you could potentially want. It could be a legal advisor. It would be someone who believes that capitalism is deeply flawed as an economic system, like I did in my classroom. It could be an experienced marketing executive. And so effectively, our training programs at Mindstone are based on this premise. And the fact that you should really engage with AI in a dialectical fashion, as opposed to just considering some more powerful Google.
I love
that's
that because it gives, oh, Amy, go ahead. You finish.
love that. I
Mm.
am absolutely going to steal it. I'm going to use that. That is great.
I think to your point that we've made a little bit earlier, I think a lot of times we've thought of technology as just kind of a bonus that we can use in the classroom. AI is now an opportunity to have individual experts almost come in and be able to be an additional teacher, to be able to help students learn things that maybe you might not have time or attention, or be able to give students everything that they need. And so being able to use the tools and projects effectively for students to be able to reframe how they think about AI. It's not a cheat sheet that will give them the answers to your point, Stefano. It's not something that's just a smarter Google that's going to tell me everything that I need to know, but it's an opportunity for me to expand my thinking about a given topic and be able to use it to prepare for any different situation or iteration of the project that we're asking them to complete. But I wanted to dive into this because I think it's kind of the elephant in the room when we talk about AI a lot, is that students in some cases want to use it as that cheat sheet. So how do we help them use AI effectively, safely, and ethically? And how do we prepare students to think about AI in a way that makes it so that they're using it in a way that they can use it in the workplace? So, Stefano, we'll come to you first. How do you think you talk about the ethics and safety around artificial intelligence in the classroom?
I think what I did was, I mean, in the classroom, I started from a practical example, which is, okay, let's have a look at what ChatGPT would say about capitalism on the back of what we've just learned if prompted very generally. And of course, it was quite a, which is not surprising given that it has been trained on American data, it was quite a neoliberal or market-friendly stance. There wasn't a lot of space for fundamental critique of markets. So when they realizing that on the back of the learning that they had just done, achieves two objectives. The first is that they start interacting a lot more critically with the tool. And the second is that they actually understand that, or perhaps three, they understand that old-fashioned, unbiased learning is still very useful. And that actually the way you prompt these systems is very valuable and very important. And it's a skill in its own right. And I think so. Starting from this practical example really helped that conversation. But again, this is quite similar to what we would do at Mindstone in our training programs. The material on and all the material would be personalized to the description that you, as a learner, would insert, the description of the job that you would insert when you join our platform. And so the ethics examples and the security, the modules on security would all be customized to the context that you face as an individual employee. And I think this point is more relevant. I mean, generally contextualized learning or contextualizing the learning is always very important. But I think it's especially important with these tools because they are so new. And so the difference between something that is very theoretical, oh, you should watch out, and something that actually brings it to your daily life or to your learning experience is just a huge difference given their novelty.
And I think
And
seeing it in that practical application helps them, to your point, contextualize that ethics isn't just an ambiguous topic of let's make sure that we use AI ethically. It shows them what that looks like. Amy, you had a thought. Go ahead.
I want to piggyback on that. What he said about starting with something very practical, and they have to think critically. Particularly with high school students, they don't have a complete frontal lobe. They don't think that far in advance. And so we have to kind of push it on them and help them to understand what it is that they're looking for and be more practical in it and understand that what they're getting can very well be biased, and it is going to be biased, and they have to look at things from the other perspective. That is something that when I first started really exploring the generative models, I'm that nerd who sat and had debates on all different kinds of subjects with them to figure out exactly where the bias, where the holes in its reasoning is going to be. And they're there, they are still there. So helping younger students to understand you can't just take it as gospel that this is correct and just turn this in and not think about it. You have to be a critical thinker.
That skill set is so important. And I think all the research that you both have done around AI and particularly generative AI is going to come in handy for this next question is what tools that you've used or that you've experienced or taught with your students do you recommend other teachers use, right? There's different
Mhm.
models, different generative AI options, and there are holes, right, in the data that they pull from. So there's different ones that are going to be better than others. What ones would you recommend teachers kind of start with? Amy, we'll come to you first.
So for teachers who are just starting with it, I'm going to recommend those that are designed for K-12 education, because things like, oh shoot, Quizzes changed its name, Wayground. Took me a second. The Khan Academy, which is built for education, for student use. It doesn't collect private information, things like that. There are, I, I can't tell, Magic School. There's a whole list of them that you can use and that your district will probably subscribe to for you. I would start there, particularly something like Conmigo. It's very, I find it to be very neutral, and it sticks to what the students need instead of doing more things for them. I am a particular fan of Brisk as far as for creating material. And when there's something called Brisk Boost, again, it's all education based, it's for K-12 education, and it works very well to quiz the students on the material. And I would start with something that's built for K-12 education, and you don't have to worry about personally identifiable information, which is a big issue for underage students and for teachers using other things. Now, when they go, if I have them like just sort of copying and pasting pieces of code, they can do that in Copilot. And or on which we're a Google school, we're a Google district, so Copilot is there and we have access to it. And because it's a school approved AI, then again it protects. So I use Copilot, but I know Microsoft also. If you're a Microsoft school, I said Copilot, wrong one. If you're a Microsoft school, you got Copilot. If you're a Google school, you've got Google. So it's, I would suggest sticking with one your district is using.
I love that. And we just had a question in the chat. And if you want to drop these in, Amy, as we're talking, a list of some of these, and we can provide that in the follow-up email as well, some of those channels and sources that you've recommended. Stefano, do you have any additional resources, maybe for our attendees who are in the higher education space or the workforce space? What are your thoughts about AI tools that they can use?
Yes, I would encourage Gamma that I've already mentioned for the production of slides. And let me dig a link. Actually, I will do it later, so I can focus on the talking. So Gamma for slides, which has been brilliant for me, and I generally use it for most of my presentations these days. Then I would recommend, and they are called differently across different platforms. So, for example, they're called custom GPTs in the OpenAI interface. They are called GEMs in Google, in the Google system. They are called in Copilot. They are called agents. So, but what they are effectively pre-programmed version of an LLM that you train on a specific task. And I think this could be very useful when it comes, for example, to summarize a set of information into a lecture script or a lecture plan. So, okay, go through these 5 to 10 PDFs that I trust and give me a potential lecture plan, or go through this lecture plan and give me a list of talking points, because these tasks for an LLM are quite repeatable. And so if you just create these custom GPTs or this, you can effectively just put a few quick prompts and it would perform the task for you. So I would advise start by mapping how you actually do your lesson preparation in 3 or 4 tasks, and then understand how these custom GPTs or different AI tools could help you.
Streamlining a lot of the work outside of the classroom, right? Not the teaching part, but all of the preparation. I love that. I think that's a huge time effort that teachers have to spend outside of the classroom that AI can be super helpful with negating a little bit. So thinking about our educators that are here with us, and I see we're very active in the chat. Thank you, Amy, so much for dropping those in. I'm gonna do this perfect so that we can send it to everyone really quickly. And then we have the transcript at someone's point as well, if you have additional questions about what some of those resources are. Stefano, will come to you first to kind of wrap things up before we open things up for Q&A. What advice would you share with educators who are here who are just getting started with AI? What's your advice for them?
Yeah, I think, and I might be repeating myself here, but it's changing the mindset, the mindset from viewing these tools as just an advanced Google towards a teammate. And you can also, I think, from a psychological standpoint, it can be important how you interact with them, and you can talking to the tools actually can simplify that shift. And so you can do it either through the microphone of most apps, or you can do it via some external free apps like Super Whisper, which basically allows you to dictate to a very high standard of accuracy, a lot more than what WhatsApp would allow you to do, which is something where a lot of us would probably dictate from time to time, and a lot better than the interface of ChatGPT or Gemini themselves. And I will post also Super Whisper in the chat, so if people are curious, they can take a look.
Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate that. Amy, any additional advice or resources that you wanted to discuss and share with the group?
I really, really like what Stefano said about it's another individual. Something I've said for years and years about being a teacher is we all need a secretary, or a co-teacher, somebody to grade, somebody to help. And I have been using the AI as my secretary for a couple of years now, about 3 years, and it has been a godsend. It's one of those things that, had I known when I was a younger teacher what I would be able to do, I wouldn't have believed it possible. It has created a whole new way to teach. And I have another teacher or two in the room with me. I have a secretary, and I do use just the microphone interface. So I'm definitely going to be looking into the Whisper app that he's talking about, because I dictate all the time. It makes it a lot easier for me. I'm a verbal processor, and I can just think out loud and then go in and fix what I don't like. So it has been wonderful. So as far as recommendation for starting, getting your feet wet, I'll reiterate, please start with something that your school approves and try doing something for you first. Get some practice, make practice questions for you and give you the answers. It'll make it key. So if you need your lesson plan for the week, have it make a lesson plan for you and look up all the standards, because it takes forever to go figure out what standards and put it in the lesson plans for your admin. It'll do it for you. That way you don't have to worry about it. Use it to help your workflow, and then step in and let the students start using it in their workflow.
I like that. And this question just came up in the chat, which I think connects with this quite well. Do you think high school students would respond to a chatbot learning Adobe? I struggle with motivation and grit, which is, I know, something that we addressed, Amy, in our conversation. So what are your thoughts about AI and helping students learn these skills when a lot of times they're trying to use it as a shortcut as opposed to using it as a critical tool? Curious on your thoughts.
I have not had a problem with it in Adobe. Now, it depends on which Adobe you're talking about. I have had my students who are using Illustrator that don't really understand some of the concepts. Illustrator is supposed to be very clean, very neat. It's very different from Photoshop. And these are supposed to be more logos or badges, and they don't understand what the concept of a badge is. So I'll have them they'll take a screenshot of it and put it in Google Gemini and have it critique it for them and say, okay, this could be better, or this could be worse. And they take it a whole lot better, that critique coming from AI than coming from me. Because, oh, you just don't like me. I'm not good enough. No, this is what a badge is. So let's make it look more like a badge. So as far as motivation is concerned, that's a teaching issue, not an AI issue. And we all battle that. I do a lot of singing and dancing. I don't know what else to say.
No, I think that's great. Stefano, did you have anything that you wanted to add to that as far as leveraging AI while still encouraging students to think critically, right, and kind of get their hands dirty in their learning?
Yeah, I think and it's a tough problem to crack. I think ultimately some things in education are meant to remain difficult, and to the extent that we shouldn't be under the impression that education should always be straightforward. Like, students need to struggle from time to time. It should be a friendly and friendly struggle, but I think it's important to keep this in the background of this discussion. I think it's what AI can help is allow education to keep up with other sources of knowledge and distraction that students might be having access to. I mean, if you are on social media and then you go back to the class on social media, or you use AI in your daily life and then you go back to the classroom and you're doing what I would have done 30 something years ago, then I mean, probably you're going to use it to cut corners. So I think embedding it into the learning process and using it as a tool to channel creativity, I mean, however it's possible given the age profile of the student. So probably for high school students, getting to the end of the high school journey might already be sensible. I think it could be quite important.
I love that. Thank you. And I love the practical applications. Feel free if anyone else has any questions. We do have a little bit of time left. So you're welcome to drop in additional questions into the chat. I just wanted to wrap up with a couple different kind of housekeeping items. First of all, thank you so much to Stefano and Amy for lending us your expertise this afternoon. We really, really do appreciate it. And the first announcement is that our Certified Academy virtual sessions are a great build up to our annual Certified Educators Conference. I was able to have Amy there with us this last year in Texas, In 2026 in June, we're going to be having our conference in Nashville, Tennessee. So if you're looking to enhance your experience, continue these types of discussions about leveraging technology in the classroom or learning from other creative educators, please feel free to look out for more information about that. We don't yet have our registration link live, but I'll go ahead and drop the link to the website in the chat so that everyone can learn a little bit more about that conference. The second announcement is that our next session for Certified Academy will be taking place in September, where we'll discuss ways to show students how they can find a career path that they're passionate about. You're welcome to register. We would love to have everyone who's been here with us for this session to join us for that session as well. So here's the link to learn a little bit more about that session. Since we're talking about leveraging technology, it's also about helping students find what they're interested in and finding a career that's going to work for them. So we hope to see you all there. As always, thank you so much, everyone, for spending your time with us. We look forward to hopefully seeing everyone back in September. We appreciate all of the questions and the amazing conversation that we've had, both here with our panelists and then in the chat as well. Thank you, everyone, for being so engaged. And we hope that this has been helpful and you can use these tools and resources in your classroom. So thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Stefano. Thank you, Amy. We look forward to seeing you all back in September. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.